So the Warden was introduced into Minecraft in the 1.19 update, and it's a Minecraft boss mob. It's found deep underground in deep dark cave biomes and is summoned by these. They're called Skulk Shriekers and will summon a Warden when a player triggers them. In order to trigger a Skulk Shrieker, you need to stand either directly on top of one or make enough noise for it to detect you. Skulk Shriekers will also communicate with each other, so if you trigger one, it can lead to a chain reaction and result in multiple triggerings. These blocks are called Skulk Sensors, and they are also part of the cycle, and triggering a Skulk Sensor will ultimately trigger a Skulk Shrieker if the two blocks are close enough. For a Warden to be summoned, a Skulk Shrieker will need to be triggered 4 times. It takes a little under 7 seconds for the Warden to be summoned, which is when the fun starts. I also want to make it clear that triggering and spawning the Warden is extremely easy. You will in fact find that trying to not spawn the Warden is pretty difficult, but I'll explain more about how to avoid spawning them later. Wardens have the most amount of health points of any mob in the game. For reference, the Ender Dragon has 100 hearts of health, the Wither has 150 hearts of health, an Iron Golem has 50 hearts of health, and a Ravager also has 50 hearts of health. The Warden tops all of these with 250 hearts of health, or 25 times more than the player. They also hit extremely hard. In easy mode they deal up to 8 hearts of damage per hit, in normal it becomes 15, and in hard mode the Warden can hit up to 22.5 hearts of damage, which is more than double the player's health. Here are some clips of me fighting one in hard mode. Wearing no armor, I was killed in 1 hit. You know what, don't even bother coming here with anything less than netherite armor. When I wore full netherite armor with no enchantments, it also killed me in 1 hit. Only when I had full protection 4 enchanted netherite armor did it take 3 hits to kill me instead. So I think the conclusion from this is don't try and defeat it by running up to it and fighting it. So as far as successfully defeating it goes, there's a handful of methods. One that I saw on Reddit was to dig a hole underneath the Warden as he's spawning in. The Warden can't climb out of a 2x2 hole, so the idea with this one is to immobilize him. Now this method does work, but you can't just dig a hole and attack him. Wardens have 2 attacks, a swing attack and a sonic charge attack. The swing attack works the same way as with an Iron Golem when he swings his arms and deals major damage. As long as you don't get too close, he's going to lose the ability to use this attack when in the hole. But he still has access to the sonic charge, which allows him to attack you within 20 blocks of him. What I'd recommend here is having at minimum enchanted armor and regeneration potions. Then build a 2x2 wall next to the hole with any block of your choice. The sonic charge sends you flying back, and what you don't want to do is start running around, triggering Skulk Shriekers and spawning another Warden in while you're already fighting one. Standing in front of this wall will stop you flying back and keep you in a position where you can constantly hit him. Again, the trade-off with this method is the damage you need to be willing to soak up. I would recommend protection enchantments on your armor, sharpness on your sword, and definitely potions of regeneration because you're going to be right in the firing line. This is also a good moment to mention a Warden's Darkness effect. Whenever you're within 20 blocks of the Warden, he will cast a Darkness spell onto you. This limits your visibility and makes fighting the Warden a lot more difficult, so take this into consideration. You can also use the bow and arrow approach too. This is a more stress-free way to defeat it. So since the Warden's sonic charge attack can travel up to 20 blocks, you need to create at least a 21 block gap between you and him. The problem is, when you build a 21 block high tower and fire an arrow at him, he'll try and attack you and realise he can't reach you. Unfortunately, he's self-aware enough to search for higher ground and reduce that gap. So in order to actually be safe from his attacks, you need a tower 21 blocks higher than his highest possible vantage point. Try and look for a gap in the ceiling, or even better, a grand cave section, which commonly reaches up to 60 blocks in height. Now you can be sure that there's at least 21 blocks of gap between you and him, and he can't sonic charge you or put the darkness effect onto you. This is, in my opinion, the easiest way to defeat the Warden. Trigger it to spawn, run off, and then build a giant stack to stand on. So what about those of you who don't want to trigger the Warden's spawn? Well, this is quite difficult to do, but there's a few tips and tricks I can offer you. The best piece of advice is to crouch while walking around. This is going to prevent you from making any sound, and you won't activate the shriekers or sensors. You can also surround the shriekers and sensors with wool. This dampens the sound and prevents them from picking up any noises unless you walk directly on top of them. To be honest, if you're going to venture into an ancient city or a deep dark biome, you should be prepared to fight the Warden if it comes down to it. These 2 tricks will help you out, but don't wander in expecting no Warden to spawn. Here are a few things to note about Wardens. The resistance status effect is the only effect which reduces the Warden's damage. You can get it from enchanted golden apples, potions of the Turtle Master, and beacons. Wardens also drop a single Skulk catalyst upon death. The catalyst will turn other blocks into Skulk blocks when mobs standing nearby die or drop XP. Wardens are also 3 blocks tall and 1 block wide, and can chase you through 3 block high corridors. Wardens are also hostile towards all mobs. You can look at them as the protectors of the deep dark biomes, as they will attack any mob they come across. You can also not evade a warden by just standing still. Despite this mob being blind, it will slowly sense you out, come right up to you and kill you if you stand still. It can also run just as fast as the player, so if your plan is to outrun it, you're going to have to jump and sprint at the same time. Not to mention that you're going to have to do this with reduced visibility and obstacles to avoid. Yeah, it can be quite intense trying to escape one. Here's a video of me running away from one on a super flat world. It's pretty tough to shake him off on that, so imagine trying to outrun him with reduced visibility and loads of obstacles in the way. And that's pretty much everything. I hope you have a better understanding of the Warden. For those of you with any questions, drop them in the comments section. Also let me know of any video requests you may have. I'll see you all next time.